Hi, before the video starts, I just wanted to let you guys know that the Dave Lee plush is only available for 4 more days. He's very likely the last one that I'm going to be doing, so grab him up if you want the full collection. On top of that, I have the Volume 3 collection VHS tape that I'm doing with Retro Release Video. Those pre-orders are open right now, and they should be shipping within 3 to 4 months. So those are both limited time, so grab them up while you still can, and enjoy the video. Hi, welcome back to these little director's commentary videos that I'm doing on the first couple Mandela Catalog episodes. Um, if you haven't seen the previous two, which is the commentaries on Overthrown and Volume 1, I would highly recommend watching those because it kind of gives an insight as to what my mindset was making these videos, and this one kind of picks up right where Volume 1 left off right away because if you remember from the last one, I talk about how Volume 1 wasn't planned to be what it was. It was supposed to be like 4 different videos, and then I just kind of combined them all as, which is why it was titled Volume 1 because, it was a collection. But obviously that changed because as I was continuing to make these videos, and when I started Intruder Alert, my mindset was, oh, so this is going to be the first one of Volume 2 because this is bound to be part of the second collection. And as I was kind of reviewing Intruder Alert for this video, I was expecting to not be super fond of it, and I was going to be ragging on it, kind of like Volume 1. But as I was watching it, I kind of realized, I'm actually pretty happy with Intruder Alert, maybe apart from one thing. Uh, but I liked a lot of the ideas that I put into this one. Um, Specifically, we'll get there when we get to it, but um, growing up on the internet horror side of things, I've had so many ideas building up for horror media that I wanted to show and do in some way. But analog horror was the best way for me to kind of spill these ideas out. So I was making these videos like every week. It felt like, and to an extent I was. So there are some things in this that I do like, and I'll point it out when we get to it. So Intruder Alert starts off with this little intro, kind of picking up where Volume 1 left off with with the same kind of editing style of this, black background with text on screen, and wasn't the most technical thing ever, but I think the concept was there. Um, I've definitely grown a lot since then in the visuals department, I would like to think. So since this came off of Volume 1, uh, this was the first video that I made coming off of that little collection where I realized, well, I don't really know if this is going to be a one-off video like these little snippets of Volume 1 were. Um, and this is the first one where it was a whole video that I made where it had the different sections in it. So there's 3 different sections of this video of Intruder Alert, which is the first time that I actually did something like this, which you would see much more common in my later videos, especially Volume 3 forward. Every video is like that basically. But this is the first time that I actually had these separate sections in one video compared to kind of combining them later. And I liked this format a lot, and this was a huge moment for me for that would become a staple in the series, and I think that that's something that a lot of people enjoy is this kind of mixed media aspect, and that's what I've always loved so much about analog horror when I was starting out. So yeah, so this first section, is just kind of laying the groundwork for the rest of the video, and it kind of picks up where Volume 1 ended with the last section, which was originally titled Trauma, where the intruder was introduced as this little silly little guy with evil plans. Um, but yeah, this video was kind of this is his spotlight where we kind of get to learn you know, what his deal is. And I think that this is kind of a cool little intro to kind of get into it, even though it was like a little, quite simplistic. And I do kind of like this section of where the broadcast kind of glitches out and then it kind of uses these PSA stick figures as actual characters in a situation right now, compared to them just being assets for something. I thought that was kind of cool, and it kind of told a story of this family, which I didn't expand upon until way later, which I didn't even know I was gonna do. Um, but I just like the idea of kind of telling this little short story, this like kind of contained story in the rest of this video, um, and this is tragic moment of a woman coming into her baby's room after he was crying and seeing that he was taken by the intruder in the TV, who, as you can see, is going under another kind of change in appearance, and this change in appearance that the intruder had was mainly because uh, I did want to kind of have a more original um, version of what this guy looked like, and the way that I did this was back way before ChatGPT and AI generated images were the rage. In 2021, there was this website called the thispersondoesnotexist.com. I believe it's still there and available to use. But it was this thing where it was this AI generated thing where you every time you reloaded this page, it would just give you a face of someone, they're very recognizable. You can if you're kind of in the analog horror realm, you can recognize these faces very easily because it's all the same exact framing and all the same angles and stuff and almost the same like expressions. But what I did was at the time I just took two random people from this site and then I kind of put the face of one onto another's head. So I kind of just plastered someone's face. He ended up just kind of looking like a normal guy. I thought that was going to do something a little different, but because the algorithm is so similar for each image, he kind of just looked like this freaky little guy. So he was kind of the new intruder for this one, and he kind of had another evolution in Volume 2, but if we get to that, then we'll get to that. I'll talk about that later. And then once Lynn sees this man and realizes that it is his fault that the baby is gone, which ended up being Adam later. Um, she does the deed in the room, and then this whole scene, that whole moment was very inspired by a lot of the kind of shock value stuff that I've seen in analog horror, in bits up until that point, but it was also very inspired by Sayori's death in Doki Doki Literature Club. If you know, you know. Kind of a pretty gruesome scene. But that kind of shock was kind of what I was going for, which this shock was, I think, the last time that I ever really did something like that. The other one being that moment in Volume 1. You know what I'm talking about, where it's just kind of like, oh, geez, okay, that's a bit much. This is the last time that I really did something like that because it just wasn't really my thing anymore. And I think that it was maybe not the kind of horror that I wanted to portray because this is not really my thing. I think that other things do it better than me, and it's just not my thing. I'd rather go for kind of just a very subtle, dreadful thing rather than things akin to jump scares, even though it's not necessarily a jump scare. But anyways, I'm rambling a bit too much about that. But that was the end of that scene. And then, so this scene kind of transitions into the emergency alert system section, which, as I was reviewing this, I was actually very pleasantly surprised at this, and it made me realize that this is kind of my favorite moment of the entire, Season 1 section, quote-unquote. I kind of refer to everything before Volume 2 as Season 1, kind of. But as I was watching this, I was like, dang, okay, I actually kind of like this a lot, because I liked how, even despite its minimalism, I feel like this is the most analog horror thing that was in the whole thing. I think that people also think of the Think principle, but I had some problems with the Think principle because when I was kind of even at this point, I was looking back and thinking, okay, this looks really unrealistic. The font and the filter and the aspect ratio and the stock images, it didn't really seem that authentic to me, even at that point. But the Intruder Alert one, I thought felt a lot better, except for the flashing urgent sign. I wish that I didn't do that. I don't really know why. That kind of ruins it for me, but I can excuse that. I thought that the rest of the thing was really good because I really tried to make it feel and look exactly like those tornado alerts and stuff. And the sound effects, I think those decisions were good. I think the text-to-speech voice was really good. I'm not just like, I sound like a dick right now. I'm just talking myself up. I promise again. I'm just, I'm just giving my thoughts about this, but I feel good about this. This was a good moment. I'm not really gonna rag on this scene. I liked it a lot, but part of the reasoning is like because I mentioned before how I really like the mixed media aspect, and that was my favorite part of analog horror, and I like the idea of kind of telling this through line story while changing these mediums. So it's like so before it ended off with Adam being taken, and then it's like then we go and see the emergency alert system that happened as a result of these children being taken. So I just thought that was cool, and again, as I was watching this, I was like, okay, that's pretty good. And then it kind of puts an end to this little story here, and this self-contained story within this bigger universe that where I expanded on later. But I liked how there's this little moment where it's like, okay, there's a new story going on here. There's another aspect to this whole thing going on, and then yeah, I like how it kind of just ends on this quiet kind of low note where it's like, okay, we're putting a pin on this, and then we get into the next section. And now moving on to this last section of the video, which I guess I don't really have a title for. I guess none of these really do. But again, I after watching this again, I am still quite fond of it. I think that the atmosphere was really good, and it brought me back to when I was. This was a real house, by the way. This wasn't like a stock image I found. This was a real place, and I remember this was the first time in the series creation where I actually felt quite unsettled taking these photos, especially the part where because there's a section where the lights are off, and that as I remember taking that photo just in this creepy little like in between room hallway stairway kind of thing, and that did kind of get under my skin, and I remember kind of rushing to turn the lights on then because I kind of had an envisioning of what the rest of what I was going to be doing for that section with like the intruder's face and stuff and what was coming later, and I remember thinking like, okay, this is going to be pretty good, I think. It's just kind of silly, but actually one of the main inspirations behind this scene was the Foxy section of Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. It's where you're kind of going through this long hallway or something, this big room, and then you have this flash beacon of this flashlight that only flashes just a little bit, giving you just enough room to see what's going on in the room without just like drowning the room in light. And that's what I wanted to do originally for this, but then I realized because I was making these videos on my phone, I wasn't really sure the technicality of how good this would look and if I could really make it work. As I'm talking about this, I actually kind of want to do this now in a future video, but what I did instead was it was kind of this, I made it up by having this section where it was instead of this flash of light, it was instead just this camera that took a photo every like I don't remember every like hour or something. I think it was like every 20 minutes. But this kind of this rotation of this camera thing, I thought that was a pretty cool idea. It felt very Paranormal Activity to me, which was one of my big inspirations. And I thought that some of these little moments were pretty good. Again, it's like some of these scenes, like with the intruder's head in the darkness, just kind of floating there. That's one of those things that I've had a vision for many years that I just didn't really know how to implement into something. But this was one of those things where, as I was pushing these videos out, that was something that came to me right away. I'm like, okay, this is just an absolutely nightmarish visual right here of just this guy's head in the darkness just floating there, and it was so creepy to me. And then the ending of the big censor bar, which is a big analog horror staple at the time. I think that was pretty cool. It kind of gave this weird kind of just surreal, weird, like what the fuck is even happening here? Why? So I like that's something that I kind of liked at the time, and I still very much like now, where it's just like this almost nonsensical, just like what is even going on here? I think the caption said like the victim's corpse is seen being mangled here or something, but you can't see it because it's there's the censor bar there. which it does matter for the lore, of course, but it's just like what I that's something that I really like a lot, and that's something that especially I feel like is a common theme in Volume 5, where I like that kind of portraying that very specific kind of feeling where almost like you're in a nightmare and things kind of make sense, but not really. But because it's dream logic, things just make sense just because they do, and you don't really question anything. That's kind of the vibe that I was liking to put in these videos, and I feel like this was really the first time where that really happened, and we're kind of getting into more of this kind of live action element. Like we did a little bit in Volume 1, but I like this expansion of this universe by kind of showing this entire other story with this new character, and I think that he kind of plays well with the alternates because I feel like they kind of complement each other with their vibes and negative auras and such. And then, then it kind of all ends with this little note from Thatcher, who, again, I didn't even know, I wasn't even aware of what his importance was going to be down the line. I was just kind of making these little videos and kind of soft launching these characters in a way that would end up being developed much more later. But that was kind of the fun part of doing these videos, and as I was just kind of spitting out these videos so quickly, it gave me so much to work with later. I would just go back and think like, oh, what's this little like loose end that I could maybe expand upon, or tie up, or something. That was just a really fun thing that right now I don't really have a lot of, because I feel like I've kind of done a lot with a lot of the loose ends. So yeah, that's Intruder Alert. This went on for a little bit longer than I expected. I actually wanted to do exhibition in this video too, but I'm going to save that for another one because this recording has been going on for like 15 minutes. So thanks for watching. I hope that you guys still like these. I think I'm only going to be doing these up until exhibition though, because I feel like I kind of have the most to say about these ones that I did entirely by myself. Later I had all these like collaborative efforts, which if I do those commentaries, I'll probably have some guests on. We'll see. But right now I think I'm only going to be doing these season 1 videos. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I've been seeing that the other commentary videos both have over 100,000 views right now, which I was very pleasantly surprised to see. So I didn't think that people would be caring about them that much, but I appreciate you guys still caring about the series and stuff. I know that things have been slowing down a lot, which if you follow my Instagram and such, you kind of have an idea of why I haven't been able to put as much effort into the YouTube side of things for like 2 years now. But I'll have more words on that hopefully very soon. I know it almost seems like I'm like that typical kind of YouTuber who says, big things coming, guys, big things coming, and then nothing's coming. But whenever I've been saying that for like the past couple years, I truly mean that. Like something huge has been brewing. I'm not going to get into that because I ramble about this, I feel like, every time I do these videos. But I also I suppose that this last segment of this video is kind of where I can just spill my thoughts about what's been going on lately with my channel. And I just want to say, I know that I haven't been uploading as much Mandela Catalogue stuff. I had a lot of fun making Cognito Hazard. That was kind of one of those videos where it kind of brought me back to this era of videos that we're talking about here in this like 2021 era, where I would just kind of have this just sudden idea in my head, and I would kind of reel it in, as David Lynch would say, like a fish. And then I would just I just had this instant moment of like, okay, this is a good concept. I'm just gonna kind of quickly make a video about this, digital horror-esque like web forum thing. I thought that was really fun. But I also wanted to say that my first quote unquote like true live action short film, you could say, which was Someone's Still Home, that actually got very, very good reception, and I'm very, very pleasantly surprised to see that, and I appreciate your guys' support on that very much. because that was a really big passion project of mine. And I've always kind of wanted to make a video that was a recreation of a dream that I've had and stuff like that. So again, I appreciate the support on that very much. That reassures me a lot that that you guys are still open to the live action stuff. I also wanted to express my gratitude for the support on the new episode of Festival, which I had a ton of fun making, even though it was more or less kind of an emotional expression video in the moment. But that was kind of a cool territory that I like to go in with that with this kind of more futuristic dystopian kind of theming, which contrasts very heavily with the analog horror stuff. But the fact that you guys have, I mean, I know that that didn't get as much views, but from what I saw, people seem to like it. If you haven't seen it, I would greatly appreciate if you checked it out if you want to, because the thing is, I mean, when I'm working on these other side videos or maybe side series and stuff, just because it's not Mandela Catalog, it doesn't really mean that I'm not putting as much effort into them or anything. All of these videos that I make, well, like the main videos, not little side stuff like this, but whenever I make these main project videos, they all have the same effort and kind of mentality going into all of them. So I think that there's kind of something for everyone there. I've been meaning to do Mystifying Oracle 4 for like, well, it's almost 2 years now. There's a chance that I will try to make Mystifying Oracle for the Halloween special this year. No matter what, I'll do a Halloween video this year. That's kind of something that I always try to do, is do a Halloween video, because I know how fun that is, and I love getting into the Halloween spirit and stuff. And I think that Mystifying Oracle 3 was also the Halloween video for 2023, so could be something cool. I'm really excited for that video. That's going to be kind of a bigger one. Maybe not as long as episode 3, but anyways. Okay, I think my rambling is over. I think that's all I wanted to get off my chest right now. Again, like, I've been working on the big project, which is the movie, the Mandela Catalog movie. That has been kind of in the works since 2022, and and I don't want to get any hopes up or anything, but I'm making a lot of progress right now, which makes it seem like something could be happening with that soon. Been in contact with some very good people, very cool people lately, so we'll see how that goes. But again, I'm not going to make any big announcements or anything until that is really set in stone. But that's all I got. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm going to be doing I think the next episode will be maybe Metaphysical Awareness Disorder along with Exhibition. I think that'll be a good ending. It'll be a long one, maybe like half hour or so. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm just talking. Yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And have a fun Halloween. And if I don't have any other videos out by then, have a fun October. As I've gotten older, I've kind of realized that kind of these moments of living in the Halloween spirit, it matters more the older I've gotten, and I really value that kind of thing. So really take it in every year. If you're a big horror fan like me, I know that this is a fun time of year. So yeah, have fun with it. Go crazy with it. And I'm just gonna stop before this turns into a yapping session of 30,000 minutes. Okay, bye bye. Like and subscribe down below. Blah blah blah.